325 degrees below zero, called liquid nitrogen, and do cryosurgery. Turn on an electric needle and we can burn them off. We can cut them off with a knife. We can shave them off with a razor blade. We can scrape them off with a round knife and then burn them. We can use a $40,000 electric needle, laser surgery. We can use harsh chemicals, or we can even take a belt sander to them to get rid of them, because they're all superficial, but they have to be surgically removed. So those are barnacles. And I finished skin. Any questions on skin?
Is there any difference between the sunscreen that you use for babies and for adults? Or can you use the...
No, they're, the effective chemicals within them. Now, the vehicle, there are a lot of different vehicles. Some creams, or they're roll-ons, they're sticks, they're spray-ons. The important thing is that you use it. Creams are just fine, but vehicles like spray-ons and sticks are also nice. So, but you want to make sure that your sunscreen blocks both long and shortwave ultraviolet light. Best to have photoprotective clothing. Yes?
Is the spray on as good only because you don't tend to put it on as thick? I've always heard the spray is good, that's all you've got, or you can get your kids to wait and pour. But is it as good as?
It's, as long as you're delivering the chemicals, but you're probably not delivering as much as you would deliver with the cream.
Okay.
So, you know, if they won't stand still long enough, then
Right.
you're praying to get them while they're moving, and you don't miss a strip, and they have a red striped sunburn. But
So you have to, it's not really saving you any time then to use the spray, because you have to put it on thicker then, would you say?
I do not know the rate of delivery of a spray, how fast it's coming out. So I really can't answer that scientifically for you. If that's all you can do, make sure
Okay.
you get it over the area and then reapply it. As soon as they sweat it off, or they go into the ocean or the swimming pool, it's gone. It needs to be reapplied. There's a hand back there. Yes.
I just wondered, as far as the amount, as like I usually use 50, I don't know, I've heard that anything over 30 doesn't do any difference? What-
So the SPF, that's the number.
Uh-huh.
So that means if it's 15 and I would burn in 5 minutes and I had enough on me, then I would burn in 15 times 5 minutes. Well, that's plenty. I mean, I couldn't stand to be outside that long. But so 30 is great. 50 is great, 60 is great, 75 is great. A lot. You don't really need something that strong, because that's what it means. But you need to remember that SPF only takes care of UVB, and you need something that says it blocks long wave ultraviolet light, and SPF isn't going to tell you that. Now, what I use is an SPF 60 Vanna cream, with has titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. So I'm blocking both long and short wave ultraviolet light. But just make sure you block long and short wave ultraviolet light. The 30, 60 is not so important, so you're absolutely right about that. Yes.
You mentioned once they get in the water, it's off, but you can buy sunscreen that says sweat-proof and waterproof. Is that not at all true?
It's probably pretty true. But, you know, it has to get there. It has to bind to the stratum corneum. It has to be absorbed
Okay.
through into the stratum corneum, and then come into a steady state with the rest of your skin so that it's constantly there. Maybe it has in a vehicle that's less likely to be miscible with water, so it's an oil base
So you're saying
versus
let
a
it
water
sit
base.
for how long before they go in and out of the water?
If there are directions on the
Oh.
product, and if it's coming from somebody that you can trust, like Procter and Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, somebody who's, you know, probably going to give you valid scientific information, then follow the directions on the label. But if your kid has been in the water for 30 minutes, you probably should reapply the sunscreen.
I think
Yes.
I've heard some dermatologists recommend that a moisturizer that you use in the morning, always use one with SPF protection because you're always going to be out at some point and exposed. Is that a reasonable thing, or is that sort of
Now,
overkill?
that depends upon how perfect you want to be. And I've always believed that perfection is for the next world. I keep attempting to achieve it, but I'm not going to. Now, I know a dermatologist who says after he shaves every day, puts sunscreen over everything so he isn't going to get a photon of energy through there. But I'm a little vitamin D, and I'm not perfect. So you can, if you want to do that, you can do that. But I don't do that. Okay, hair care, hair growth, aging hair. We're going to talk about these topics: hair care, hair growth cycle, aging hair, pattern baldness, unwanted hair, laser removal, and yes, you can have longer eyelashes like Brooke Shield. So here's the hair follicle. The big ones are mature hairs and they count. The little ones are vellus hairs and they don't count. And one of the problems with getting older is the big ones start becoming the little ones. And that's called pattern baldness. So, the shine on your hair is derived from a smooth surface of the hair shaft. The hair shaft is dead. It doesn't care what color it is. It's like shingles laid down. If it dries out too much, those shingles start coming up. Then hair shafts stick to one another, but so you want to put a conditioner on the hair shaft. Here's the hair shaft. You put a conditioner on it, it has more volume, maybe twice as much volume. So each hair is worth more if you use a conditioner. Also, it keeps the shingles laid down, and so your hair has shine. The conditioners neutralize electric charges. Maybe if proteins are in conditioners, it adds some strength to the hair shaft. Remember, the hair's dead. It's not going to add anything it eats. Shampoo the entire scalp using lukewarm water. If you're going to shampoo your head or your scalp or your hair to take the dirt off, then you strip all the oils off the hair shaft. Now you need to replace that by the conditioner. So if you're shampooing to clean your hair, it's a bim bam thank you ma'am kind of thing. Put a little lather in your hair, rinse it out, put on the conditioner, and the hair is clean. If you're shampooing your scalp to treat your scalp for seborrheic dermatitis, dandruff, or some disease, then you need to lather up the scalp, wait 5 or 10 minutes, read the paper, have a cup of coffee, then you go in the shower. You've given that enough time to work, rinse it off, and put on your conditioner. Why does my scalp or skin itch when I shower in hot water? Heat causes the blood vessels to dilate. Mast cells live just outside the blood vessels. They release histamine. Histamine causes itching, so use lukewarm water. Hair growth cycle. There are certain animals that have hair that grows every minute of every hour of every day of their entire lives. Alpacas and other cameloids in South America are examples. But we, as mammals, have a hair growth that our hair grows for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, or longer, and then it will fall out to be replaced by a new hair. So during hair growth, we call the hair anagen. Then it says time out, my time to take a rest, and it becomes a telogen hair, and then it falls out. So these are the hairs in the bottom of the shower, in your bed clothing, that you see every now and then. What we have then is a hair grows, grows, grows. If you are born with a 2-year anagen, no matter how hard you pray, your hair won't grow past your shoulders. If at the moment of your conception you were given a 7-year anagen, then you might be able to grow hair down to the middle of your back. It just all depends at the moment of your conception, the length of your anagen. You can't change it. And then, when the anagen is over, a telogen hair comes, and that's a new hair that's coming back. And this one is up there at the top. That's the old one, and this is the new one. So, if you wanted to brush your hair every night 100 times, you're taking the hairs that aren't going to fall out for a week or two out now. So, that's not a good idea. Brushing 100 times a night just pulls out the telogen hairs before they're ready to fall out all by themselves. Doesn't make your hair grow any faster. Now, what happens to our hair as we get older? Several things, and we'll go through the first part, pigment. When we're younger, there may be a lot of pigment in that hair. And then, as it depends upon our gene pool, the hair becomes thin, it becomes gray, we lose melanocytes in the bulb, and this is genetically programmed. So some people start get gray early, some people get gray later, and fading color happens. So you may want to replace that color. You may want to use a hair dye to do that. When your hair starts losing color is genetically programmed. White people turn gray before people with dark skin and those of Asian descent. Hair dyes are safe, occasionally can cause a contact allergy, and once you're allergic to hair dye, you're always allergic. Hair dyes do not cause cancer, and the hair shaft is dead. It doesn't care whether it's Kool-Aid red, magenta, blonde, whatever you want to make it. The other thing that happens to hair is that as we get older, we have fewer of the mature hairs and more of the vellus or baby hairs, and so we're having miniaturization of the hair. We call this pattern baldness. So that single hair has a life cycle of up to 7 years long, but the hairs over time become from mature to vellus. Now, everybody starts with a round hairline. In men, at the time of puberty and afterwards, this V starts so that you have the M kind of hairline. Then that starts moving toward the back, and it depends upon what it was determined at the moment of our conception, how much hair loss we were going to get, and that's called pattern baldness. It happens both in men and in women. It's called androgenetic alopecia for androgens, male-type hormones, genetically programmed. And there are treatments we can do. In women, the round hairline is pretty well protected. In other words, these hairs do not miniaturize very quickly, but the part gets wider and wider and wider over the crown and back to the vertex. So instead of having that big guy, you've got the little one. We can stop that process by using minoxidil. This was a drug used to treat hypertension. People were passing out all the time. It really worked well. Knocked their blood pressure down so far, but it made hair grow. So they flipped over and they started making this. And if you apply it, it can stop miniaturization from occurring. It may buy some of those that just recently miniaturized and bring them back to mature. And as long as you use it, it will hold that. And when you quit, and when you dismount the horse, all the way back to the beginning, bye-bye. And you may not get it back if you quit. So if you want to do that, why, that's available. They used to make it in 2%, and they found, oh, that works well. We can kick it up to 5%. Then they made it for men, and they put it in brown tubes. And then they made it for women. They put it in pink tubes. And then they made sprays that were available so they didn't mess up hairdos. And then they made it with a right angle sort of attachment, so you push the button here and foam comes out there and you can slide it in. It works wonderfully as long as you use it. And it works better if you use it 2 times a day, and they charge more for the pink than the brown. Or hair transplantation. And you want people who do this for a living because they do a really good job. And if you have a bad job, it doesn't look very good. Both Joe Biden and Charles Schumer, the senator from New York, have good hair transplants. Now, sometimes we have hair where we don't want it. And a lot of people, where Sue and I live in a retirement community, they say, Nick, why is it that I can grow hair in my nose and my ears, wild hairs in my eyebrows, but I can't get any where I want it? And I said, boy, if I knew that, I probably wouldn't be here. So, unwanted hair, because we give this name hirsutism, unwanted male pattern hair in women, but many of us have unwanted wild hairs. But it's a common problem. It affects about 10% of women. Again, it's genetically programmed. It's coarse hair that is occurring in areas where they don't want it. Unwanted facial hairs are common, and there are a lot of treatment options. There are medical conditions. I won't spend a lot of time, but you want to make sure you're not missing one of these medical conditions. But some of us want to get rid of them. So unwanted hair is something that we'd like to get rid of. And we can have somebody take a needle and go down that hair shaft, slide that needle real tiny down to where they think it's at the bottom, and then go psst. Hopefully you burn out the hair follicle, and then it won't grow the hair anymore. And in the hands of really talented people, over time you can catch up with things with that. Now we learned we can use laser, and if the hair's pigmented, we can kill the hair much better with lasers, and that works well. But you want to make sure that whoever's doing that really knows what they're doing. When laser hair removal things were in the early days, there was a doctor in Chicago who bought one from the laser company. And they may have gone to a educational session on how to use it. And then that doctor put it in an office and hired a kid to come in off the street to run it. There was a very hairy guy who decided that he wanted to get rid of the hair on his back. So the way they started out, that they did little squares. And when they were done with him, he had scars in the squares, and then hair, and then another checkerboard back. And he came up to Mayo Clinic. There wasn't a lot we could do to start working on the scars, but you want somebody who really knows what the hell they're doing if they're going to remove your hair with laser. Now, if the hair is driven by androgens, there are oral contraceptives or anti-androgens that can be helpful. And then there's a cream. It's expensive. But you rub this cream in a couple times a day, right in here, or chin hairs, or lip